is stuck on a cycle of anti-black racism. One of the reasons for this is because we as a community have not fully rectified with the murder of Latasha Harlins. On the morning of March 16th, 1991, Latasha Harlins, a 15-year-old black child, walked into a convenience store in LA. Latasha made her way over to the refrigerated section of the convenience store. She went and grabbed herself some orange juice. She put it in her backpack. Latasha then made her way over to the front counter. It was there that she was met with Sunja Du. Sunja assumed that since Latasha put the juice in her backpack, that Latasha had no intentions of paying for the orange juice. She then got in a little confrontation with Latasha. It was then that Latasha walked away from the counter and Sunja pulled out a gun and shot Latasha in the head.
Latasha was an A student, honor roll student. She got money every week for her allowance, so she did not have to steal orange juice.
The store clerk, a Korean woman, is now in jail. The black community is outraged over the killing. The NAACP is demanding the clerk be tried for murder.
Please read the verdicts. Title of court and cause. Leave the jury in the time of action, find the defendant guilty of voluntary manslaughter in violation of Penal Code Section 192A.
It is not a time for rhetoric, which serves no purpose other than to fuel the fire. It's like throwing gasoline on a fire that's already burning. It is my opinion that Mrs. Du is not a danger to the community and that she is not going to reoffend. I know.
I damn sure hope so, that there would be all the hell in the black community. Somebody would care. Stand up and see this.
32 years later, on May 28, 2023, a young black child who was only 14 years old, named Cyrus Belton, walked into a gas station. When he walked into the gas station, he was told to leave his backpack at the front of the store, in which Cyrus respected the shop owner's wishes. Cyrus then made his way to the back of the store to grab 4 water bottles out of the refrigerator. Cyrus then decides that he no longer wanted the water bottles, and he put the water bottles back into the refrigerator. Cyrus walks out of the front door with his backpack in hand. It was then that Andy Chow accused Cyrus of stealing the 4 water bottles. Andy Chow and his father Rick Chow decided to chase Cyrus. That chase ended with Rick Chow shooting Cyrus in the back and murdering him.
Now, if you're looking at the top corner of that screen, can you tell me what you can see?
I see my vehicle turning onto Spring Street.
So that vehicle right there, is its paused, that's your vehicle?
That is my vehicle.
And tell me again what type of vehicle that is.
2017 BMW S5.
So, what is it about when you pulled into this area?
When we as Asian Americans see black people get on this app and talk about how they no longer want to support any Asian-owned businesses, these are 2 of the many reasons why black people no longer want to support our businesses. Black people already live in fear of our racist governmental system. Black people can't walk home from the corner store without being murdered by the police. Black people can't walk into the corner store without being racially profiled and then murdered. Black people cannot go anywhere without the fear of losing their lives just for being black. Time and time again, I have seen so many stories from black people on this app about how they would walk into an Asian-owned business store that happened to be in their neighborhood and they would be racially profiled. Asian people will open up businesses in black neighborhoods and treat black people inhumanely. Latasha Harlins should still be here. Cyrus Belton should still be here. Until Asian people start putting black people over profit, the Asian community is
This for Cyrus Belton. For a lot of black folks and Asian Americans, this murder that Rick Chow committed is reopening a lot of old wounds. The South Carolina jury just found Rick Chow not guilty of a murder he committed in 2023. He shot a 14-year-old black boy, and that black boy was Cyrus Belton. Chow chased him 130 yards and accused him of stealing a water bottle. Chow claims he was protecting his son. This just reminds me of the case that happened right here in K-Town with Latasha Harlins.
Black people are saying enough is enough. And it is time we shut down all these Asian businesses. Something happened. And this is something that happened like 3 years ago. A scenario involving a 14-year black American boy who went to the store to, just get buy normal things. The boy was accused of shoplifting like 4 bottles of water. And the owners of this shop started to chase this boy down. He's a 14-year-old boy. How it ended, it really ended fatally. Cyrus Belton. This happened 2023. But the verdict that was laid recently shows that he was innocent. And this is after the police went and reviewed all those CCTV footages and everything. And all this revealed one thing. It revealed the innocence of this kid. It is really sad that we are still having discussions in regards to this until this point, and people ask themselves, for those people that usually say that racism ended a long time ago, I'm here to tell you that racism is still there, and it exists because they chased this boy, and what happened to him at the end of that was so fatal. People don't forget. It happened 3 years down the line. Today, people are still at it. And what we are saying is that this family needs to be arrested. First, for defamation. 2, for murder. It is really, really sad. And one thing that I'll say is that I know we all do it in good faith. This has been a topic that has been going on. It is high time black people start boycotting all those Asian stores because they are racist people. They don't give a damn about you. They don't give a damn about you. They can easily do anything that will sabotage your life. You see this 14-year-old boy, he had dreams. He was just innocent. He was just minding his own business. And now, it is really sad. But let one thing sink in your minds, black people. The same you black people in the United States, you are the ones that are making these shops to become rich. You are the ones making these Asian stores become successful. You eat on these stores. You buy in these stores. You do promotions in these stores. You make them successful. I'm not against making these stores successful, but you are making these stores successful, but they don't feel the same about you. If today a black person went and set a black American cuisine in the Asian, be it China, Japan, I mean, it doesn't matter. Do you think you'll get the same treatment that they get from you? You are holding those chopsticks, eating sushi. Do you think they'll embrace you? They won't. But I'm not here to, talk negatively about anyone's store. But this is something that has been going on for the longest time because the anti-blackness, especially in the Asian community, has been something that really needs to be talked about. Brothers and sisters, it is really sad. It is really heartbreaking getting to understand that this boy was innocent. And even if he wasn't innocent, brothers and sisters, bottles of water. You take a life because 4 bottles of water. I mean, let's just be critical. Just yesterday I was looking at this story and I was like, damn, do these people really have a soul? Like, you take life because of 4 bottles of water. That's really sad. Being honest, that's really sad. That's really heartbreaking. Brothers and sisters, I want us to watch this video and then I'll be back. I'll be giving my 2 cents in regards to this. So let's watch the video. I'm gonna be back.
If you live in LA and don't know this history, I'd be very surprised. In 1991, Sun Jadu, a Korean convenience store owner here in Los Angeles, shot and killed Latasha Harlins, a 15-year-old black girl, accusing her of stealing orange juice. They shot and killed her through the back of her head. Though she was convicted of manslaughter and had a fine and probation and community service, that murder was a pivotal history in the relationship that Asian Americans need to address, especially Korean Americans. I really want us to focus on the anti-blackness in our communities, not because I'm trying to keep talking about race, but because we cannot talk about class without acknowledging and talking about race. The anti-blackness in our communities is very real. For Asians to be truly intersectional, we must unpack the anti-blackness in our community. White supremacy does not stay on top by accident. In Black and white America, Asians are foreign. We are still foreign. White supremacy used that foreignization to triangulate us and put us against each other. This system has simultaneously figured out how to give Asian Americans conditional privilege and proximity to power and criminalize blackness and black people at the same time. Cannot build political consciousness or their politics around only our pain. We must have introspection in our communities, and it starts in our home, which is like the most uncomfortable place for it to start. Anti-blackness gets reproduced in our homes, our businesses, our media. Our instincts around fear, suspicion, and property, and that suspicion being targeted towards blackness and black people has all been fabricated by white supremacy, by the systems that we are in. It has been structured into us. If we cannot confront our anti-blackness, we cannot be part of collective liberation. We are stabilizing the hierarchy that keeps white power and whiteness intact. I'm not trying to be condescending. I'm not trying to be guilting people. It's our collective responsibility. If our politics cannot make space for black grief, to hold black rage, or the reality of anti-black violence, if our politics have no room for blackness unless Asians are involved, then our politics aren't serious. White empire feeds on our divide. I will always talk about that and believe in that. If our politics are not inclusive, if our politics are not intersectional, we will just be keeping part of the problem. We will keep being part of the problem. If you guys can, there is a GoFundMe that is trying to raise money for the funeral costs of Cyrus Belton. If they need $20,000, we can help get them there. Please donate.
Are trying to start a race riot before the midterm elections. Rick Chow murdered Cyrus Carmack Belton 3 years ago. They're blowing up that story now. As he was on trial and as the verdict was being read, not guilty. And they're covering it in a very racialized way. Top search result for news articles about this is from CNN. And in the first couple of sentences, CNN refers to Cyrus as black teen and clarifies Rick Chow, who is Asian. And now we've got white supremacists on both sides of the divide, both sides. Either spewing the whole black people are dangerous, this was Cyrus's fault, or start Asian hate. Yes, that's something that's been trending on X since like 2 days ago. Start Asian hate. They want black folks to be out in the streets so that they can unleash martial law, so that they can do police brutality. But the thing is, they're gonna get minority police officers who are not black, or perhaps even who are black, to do it. And they want Asians to abandon solidarity, go over to the white supremacy side, and bolster their dwindling conservative numbers. That is to convince us that black folks are so scary that we have no choice but to vote against our own interests, which historically have been aligned with theirs. They have Asians going against affirmative action, which is why we could go to all those fancy schools in the first place. They have Asians being racist to black people, and we're doing it of our own free will, when black people helped us get our rights in the 1960s. And from what I'm seeing, Asian people and black people are being split down the middle. Asian people between solidarity with black people and racism toward black people, and black people split mostly between nonviolence and violence, son for a son type rhetoric. And all of this benefits white supremacy. Around 12,000 black people are still being killed in homicides every year, and around 300 of those are police shootings. I'm not saying that what Rick Chow did wasn't horrible, but why this case? Why now? Think about it. They are trying to start a race riot before the midterm elections. Rick Chow.
Since I'm Asian, I guess I'll comment and give my 2 cents. Because it was an Asian family that shot a young black man, a kid. In the sense of trying to run a business, you have to be very protective of the establishment. But there comes a point where when someone enters the establishment, the customer has to identify what they're trying to get or what they're trying to purchase at that moment. And in the process of doing so, sometimes certain things can look suspicious. Depending on the skin color If you move a certain way, it looks suspicious. If that kid was an Asian kid, the Asian family would have overlooked it, most definitely. The problem is because he was a black kid, he was already targeted in the establishment. He was almost to the point where they didn't want him inside the establishment. When you have money, when you have a great lawyer, when I was in law school, I dropped out, but I remember vividly the professor said, a crime is a crime depending on the type of lawyer you are. With that being said, because Rick Chow could afford a great lawyer, and if you saw that video, he's an amazing lawyer. Because they had a great lawyer, he was found not guilty. From a legality standpoint, from a moral standpoint, he was 100% in the wrong. But it wasn't Rick Chow himself. In the video, he wasn't micromanaging the experience of the customer. It was the fucking wife that was eyeballing the shit out of that kid to try and make sure. Now, they made quick assumption because he's a black kid that he stole some goddamn water bottles, but the video shows, the camera shows that he didn't. If he was a white kid, they would have stopped him. If he ran, they would have just checked back to the cameras, filed a police report, call it a day. But because he was a black kid, the surveillance of that kid was overly aggressive and extreme. He clearly put the water bottles back, and at some point, we as a society have to admit that certain things happen for certain people, obviously because
Latasha Harlins and I are exactly the same age, and she should have turned 50 years old this year, just like I did. We were both in Los Angeles and 15 years old in 1991. But unlike Latasha, I was able to finish high school and go to college and work and fall in love and have children because Latasha's life was cut short when she was shot in the back of the head by a Korean liquor store owner. And now my daughter, who is 14 years old, is exactly the same age as Cyrus Belton was when he was shot in the back by an Asian American liquor store owner. And to know that in 35 years, we find ourselves in exactly the same place. It is so discouraging and gut-wrenching, and it fills me with so much grief. And I don't have all the answers, and I don't know how to make this better. But what I do know is I know that the same systems that oppress us are the same systems that taught us anti-blackness and taught us to fear black bodies, even if those bodies are the bodies of literal children. And I don't know how to make that more clear to people. I cannot get out of my head the sounds of Cyrus's mother's wailing in that courtroom from the grief of not only just losing her son, but seeing that there will be no justice done for it. That's a perspective that I have now as a mother. I've tried to figure out 100 different ways to finish this video, and I really don't know how. I don't know how, and I don't know what to say. I just know that my heart and my grief is with the family of Cyrus Belton today, and I am so discouraged is not a strong enough word. I'm just sickened by the injustice that we are all witnessing.
Cyrus Belton, may he rest in power. He was horrifically murdered by being shot in the back after being chased over 100 yards. The man who murdered him is named Rick Chow, and he's a Chinese gas station owner, and he allegedly did it because of a stolen water bottle, and he was just found not guilty. A child being shot in the back is extremely upsetting for any reason, but it's even more upsetting because we live in a country that normalizes brutalizing black and brown bodies, that doesn't let black children have their innocence, and doesn't give justice to these black children. In this case, just further proves that. This case is also bringing up conversations about anti-black racism in the Asian American community, in the Chinese community, because despite all the work and fighting that black Americans have done to grant us the civil rights that we enjoy today, we have not shown up in solidarity in return to continue this work of undoing systemic racism, especially anti-black racism. And Chinese people have honestly shown that they are capable of performing violence on the black community, both directly and indirectly. The roots of anti-blackness in China, as I understand it, is quite complex and cannot really be reduced down to a TikTok, but I'm going to try anyway. And Chinese people, black people, feel free to correct me on anything. The three roots are colorism, media, and white supremacy being internalized as progress. Root 1, colorism. This is easy to understand. In China, it is seen as more desirable to have fair skin, and that leads to problems. Root 2, media. There are not a lot of black people that live in China, so a lot of Chinese people get exposed to black people through media that depicts black people negatively, and a lot of that comes from Western media that portrays black people stereotypically, but some of it comes from domestic Chinese media as well. Like, I remember going to see a movie called Wolf Warrior 2 in cinemas in China, and it took place in Africa, and it was not a positive depiction of Africa or African peoples. And that was a very popular movie in China. Root 3 is white supremacy being internalized as progress. Much of modern Chinese history is defined by Chinese people being humiliated by Western powers and Japan. And this reaction to this century of humiliation is progress by any means necessary, and that means copying the West in terms of industrialization, in terms of the economy, and also in terms of white supremacy culture, which includes anti-black racism. This white supremacy culture positions white Europeans as advanced and sophisticated, and positions black people as at the bottom of this perceived racial hierarchy. Notice how none of these roots include any incidences historically of black people harming Chinese people in any way. The Chinese diaspora brought these attitudes over to the United States and other Western countries, where these attitudes were further exacerbated by the notion that you have to internalize white supremacy ideals in order to survive in this country. We as Chinese Americans must admit that anti-blackness is a problem in our community. We must commit to undoing this racism, which is a byproduct of centuries of exploitation and colonization. We must commit to learning more about Black and Indigenous histories here in the so-called United States, and we must recognize that this work is ongoing, that it's probably never going to stop, and that the more you learn about anti-blackness here in this country, the more you recognize that anti-blackness has its tentacles in a lot of aspects of American life. We need to commit to this so that we can recognize when we're being used as a pawn of white supremacy, when we're being used as a wedge to divide peoples of color, whether that's through the model minority myth or some other means. We need to commit to anti-black racism because this violence needs to stop. We need to stop harming our black neighbors, and we must build.
We need to talk about Rick Chow. In 2023, he shot a 14-year-old black boy, Cyrus Belton. He had shot at 2 people prior to this, and I need the Asian American community to understand that you did not fall out of a coconut tree, that the anti-blackness rooted in the Asian American community is the Asian American community upholding white supremacy. AAPI month is over, but we all need a history lesson. Let me go through a couple things. 1, slavery never ended. I will tie everything together, but stay with me. Slavery never ended. It was actually just the modern prison system. 2, U.S. conquest never ended. It's just much easier to do a regime change and control other people's governments. So Korea and the Philippines, I'm talking in broad strokes to make a point. They are glorified U.S. military bases. The U.S. doesn't just hold hard power over these countries. Many Asian countries, they also hold soft power because America exports its culture. The bedrock of U.S. culture is capitalism, white supremacy, and because of modern slavery, anti-blackness. So when we tempt Asian immigrants to come to America that have consumed the American dream, the allure is the proximity to whiteness. But when you get here, at best, you're a cog in the capitalist machine, and at worst, you too are a glorified serf, a subsistence farmer. someone who has to work just to survive. And you realize you were tricked by the system. But instead of pushing against the system, because then you would have to admit that you are fallible, that you can be tricked, you instead lean into the oppressive system and uphold the tenets of white supremacy in the United States, because you think that one day you'll be rewarded by this. So that anti-blackness that you are performing and mirroring mainstream white culture becomes ingrained in you, and you begin to believe it. And then you begin to spread it and pass it down. And then innocent young black children are murdered without repercussion. If you are an Asian American and you harbor anti-blackness within your heart, you're actually upholding your very own oppression. You're holding the knife of white supremacy to your own neck. Model minority myth meant to divide and conquer us. Just think critically, why does mainstream culture sow so much division? And why do you believe it? Why do you eat it up? I was a teacher for 2 years at many predominantly black institutions, and I grew up in a mostly white town. So I know deeply what indoctrination feels like. Not even against black people, but against what I was taught about myself. If we don't root out this darkness, if we don't break these spells that have been cast upon us just to extract from us, then that is such a deep shame on all of us, and the rot will just continue to eat anything that our community will ever try and build upon this.
This isn't anime related, but I wanted to speak about this not as an anime content creator, but as an Asian American. Rick Chow was found not guilty in the murder of Cyrus Belton after chasing him down for 130 yards and shooting him in the back over supposedly a stolen water bottle. It is disgustingly similar to the murder of Latasha Harlins in 1991 when Korean store owner Soon Ja-do fought her and shot her in the back of the head as she was leaving over supposedly a stolen bottle of orange juice. I'm glad that a lot of other Asian Americans have spoken up about this already, so I don't have too much to add. I just want to be another point from which we can speak out against anti-blackness within our community. The fact that these two events happened 35 years apart from each other makes me question if we as Asian Americans have even made any progress as allies. I've seen so many other comments from other videos regarding this issue from black people saying that they feel like they don't have any allies anywhere. And you know what? If we as Asian Americans stand complacent while their children are being chased and shot in the back, we don't deserve to call ourselves allies. That's why I believe the most important thing right now is for us not to just be in solidarity, but to actively speak out against anti-blackness when we see it. If we don't, we are upholding white supremacy and proving to people that we have a desire of proximity to whiteness at the expense of our fellow minority communities. I'm sorry, I really don't have any profound words or anything. I'm more angry than anything else. But all in all, we as Asian Americans need to do better. We need to show that we do not stand for the murder of black children. We need to show that we do not stand for anti-blackness. And overall, we just need to do more to prove that we are actual allies to our fellow black.
My good Asian siblings, I'm tired that the white man's tactics keep working on us. They always treat us like the perpetual foreigner. You see how they did us during COVID. Chinese Exclusion Act, concentration camps, now icing our neighborhoods. We try to break this label by assimilating and emulating the white man model of success. We worship their institutions, their titles of prestige and salaries. They block us from going to these institutions. Then white men use the Asians as the face of the movement to dismantle affirmative action. And we get admitted even less now amongst other marginalized communities. Why are we fighting so hard to be part of an institution that doesn't want us there to begin with? Then they give us symbolic victories like the Stop Asian Hate Crime Bill, which there is Asian hate, but when other communities are also getting brutalized and there's nothing but silence, this victory just becomes another point of tension devised by the white man to separate us from everybody else. And then we see some of us physically doing the white man's bidding, emulating the racism, anti-blackness, violence, to the point where we're taking people's lives. Then the white man let us walk free. Why? To continue to divide us and other marginalized communities. It's all part of the Grand Master Plan to reinforce these institutions and systems that the white man has created to maintain their power and control over everybody else. Do not be a white devil in Asian skin. Do not fall for the white man.
I made a video about the whole Rick Chow situation is because it's the same shit, just different channel. Oh, it's an Asian against a black person. Well, the black person deserved it. Or like when it's a Hispanic person against a black person, all of a sudden that Hispanic person is white Hispanic. Just like George Zimmerman, how they hyper focus on the white aspect of their background. And we all know if Rick Chow had shot a white person in self-defense, then the verdict would be very freaking different and Rick Chow would be behind bars right now. At the end of the day, this country is extremely fucking racist. The crimes of people of color against people of color cannot even compare to the magnitude of crimes committed by white heterosexual men against people of color. I mean, the fact that Minnesota took a moment of silence for Derek Chauvin says it all. The fact that they could write heinous shit on May 25th, the anniversary of George Floyd's death, and say stuff like, oh, 6 years of sobriety, or he deserved it, while we are Charlie Kirk and wanting to dox any liberal on the left for mentioning the death of Charlie Kirk says it all. The fact that Spencer Pratt, a D-list wannabe reality star who literally squandered $10 million of his own life savings on shopping sprees and crystals, thinking that the Mayan calendar was accurate and it was going to be the end of the world, but has a shot as LA mayor, says it all. And last but not least, Kamala Harris did not lose the 2024 election. It was not rigged. I am coming to terms with the fact that our country is extremely.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great. People have really talked about this, and I already told you about how I feel about this. So what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be reading you what people really feel about this. They chased that boy a whole football field and gunned him down for some water. That's a really crazy situation. All three of them need to go to jail. Mama, daddy, and son. They all need to go to jail. I stopped giving these Asians my business many years ago in these types of stores. And our young people need to be informed not to go into their stores due to this type of defamation, profiling, you name it how you want. Right? It makes me so sad to see our people continue to shop in these places where these people ate us over and over again. And now these Neanderthals have taken another one of our black youth. Stop going there. Damn it. Black folks, it's time to wake up. It's time for us to stop giving grace to anybody who wishes to, arm us. It is time to just see the truth. It is time to just see the reality of the matter. They already decided he was a criminal. They watched him the entire time, knew he put the water back, and then chased him across the street for 100 yards over the water bottle. They falsely claimed he pointed a gun at them, yet evidence showed he was shot in the back, meaning he couldn't have done that. I need all three of them gone. Stop supporting their companies. This is not the first time they do this. Remember the teen black girl in Los Angeles? So let's just stop it. They have cameras proving Cyrus stole nothing, and yet they unalived him. They need to be civilly sued into the ground as well. To my spiritual family, make sure their businesses never gets another customer ever again. We really need to find a way not to let our children patronize their stores. It should be like 100% off limit. I don't care if you go to buy a case or drink, so those are juice for your kids at home or their own safety. They do not patronize their store. People hate us with passion, and the white colonizers taught people who are white to hate and see us as the terminal in the violent, and when the violence happened to us. That wasn't self-defense. They executed that young boy. They shot him in the back. You can't lie your way out of this. Do much as advanced cameras and CCTV everywhere. Once you start chasing someone with a gun and their back is turned and they are running away from you, you as the person with the gun lose point of self-defense. That's some really messed up situation. This Asian store owner knows that he was wrong to chase and kill this black young man. I was always told that some Asians are very racist, and many do not even acknowledge black customers in their stores. So this Asian store owner is lying his ass off. And they have proof that this black kid did not steal nothing. He will put that, I know speak English, if he wants to, but it will not work. He murdered this kid for no reason other than being racist. I hope it gets the death penalty and in prison. Sadly, since they are white approximates, they see us as the same humanity. They never get they are being used and will never truly be part, or maybe they are cool with the accent. Anti-blackness is global. That is why it is so easy for a person to fulfill that evil. Quite honestly, I think we need to brace ourselves for the fact that these many get off because logic doesn't always matter if someone is already out to get you. I'm happy that I'm in the comfort of my own home taking this in, because if I had to go to work, whole reality set. It was 14, right? This is really sad. So please let me know what you'll think about this. As you know, I'm your host and present Agent Stories, but until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.